Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Premier League check-in podcast with myself, Benjamin Bloom, and the magnificent Matt SB. Matt, as ever, let's head right down to the bottom of the Premier League table. We will talk about our two favourite EFL alumni and a very interesting result between Bournemouth and Nottingham Forest later. But I'm going to lead off, and I guess my questions are: is it a case of I told you so with David Moyes and Everton, back-to-back wins? Where the hell did that Leicester win come from? Because we've actually got some movement, between someone going in and out of the bottom three. And are we now down to four? And really, four means three with Southampton marooned. And is it now 2 out of 3? That's a lot of questions. Let me say welcome, and I'll push you towards Everton and David Moyes. I told you so, yeah?
Good to see you, Ben. Yeah, it's a big set of results that's just played out over the weekend. Good couple of results for Everton in particular, because that's back-to-back wins against two decent teams in Tottenham and Brighton. Maybe Tottenham we can come on to in a bit. But massive result for Everton. And, we're looking at the table constantly down there. We're working out, is it going to be 2 from these 4 to go down? And we're maybe in a position where it looks like it's going to be 2 from 3 when you look, right close to the relegation sort of cut-off line. Everton have moved up quite nicely. And it's about doing some calculations here, Ben, because we've just spoken off camera about the pace that these teams at the bottom are moving at. It's projecting around 30 points might be enough to stay up. In which case, Everton...
I think it's fewer than that, man. I think 29 now. I know I'm haggling over 1 point, but that's a lot down there, isn't it?
Well, it could come down to 1 point, so you're right to mention that. But that means, in that case, Everton, on 23 points, need 2 wins. Plus, they've got 16 games still to go. So you think they might be all right, but we'll see. I mean, I will mention, Ben, they've got Leicester at home at the weekend. And if Leicester were to win at Everton, that's maybe where things get interesting, because we will also mention Ipswich play Southampton. So when you look at the fixtures, this weekend is a big one for points being scored down at the bottom. But no, the last couple of results for Everton, full credit to them. They've looked harder to beat. They've been more dangerous going forwards. David Moyes has had the desired effect, and yeah, they're looking quite comfortable here, Ben. I mean, 7 points above. That's going to take quite a lot of closing down from the teams down at the bottom.
Well, can I flip the script on your Leicester-Everton comment? What if Everton beat Leicester? Well, I'll tell you exactly what. They will be 9 points ahead of Leicester. And it's that tick-off thing we've talked about. It's like, okay, then they ain't catching you at that particular rate, are they? Let's talk about Leicester, because you mentioned Spurs. Everton obviously beat Spurs in the previous game, and now Leicester beat Spurs as well. Spurs are obviously in relegation form, but don't think anyone's realistically thinking that will continue either under Ange or if they change the manager and get an uplift into the middle of the table. But hey, we'll discuss it if it keeps on going on. But what a win for Leicester. A little bit out of nowhere. With my Ipswich Town fan hat on, I'm almost hoping it's a bit of a fluke outlier win, which kind of keeps Ruud van Nistelrooy comfortable, and there's another losing streak coming. But you got to give them their flowers. It's a great result, isn't it?
Yeah, they've been in terrible form as well, Ben. So it was a real statement to go and get the win. Came from behind as well, didn't they, Ben? So that was very impressive. Really well played to them. They played the circumstances well. We think Tottenham probably won't be dragged into the relegation sandwich, but they've been dreadful, haven't they? And Leicester City, a statement result for them, really, because, as I just said, the form was hopeless. And, we'd spoken before that there was some Leicester fans starting to turn on Ruud van Nistelrooy, and that's not, a good mix with... I think the more managers you get through in a season, that's obviously reflecting how bad a season you're having. And if they were to replace him, that would have been a disaster. So I think you just got to stick with him and hope he can pull more results out like this. I don't think I've thought Leicester have been too bad going forwards under Ruud. It's just defensively, they look really open in terms of conceding goals, but also conceding lots and lots of shots. But they got the win, and it's results that matter down here. Looking forward to this weekend. They take on Everton. It does feel like the pressure's on Leicester in this game because Everton have now
Massively.
moved away. Everton have got the home advantage, and if this was to finish as a draw, that's a better result for Everton because they'd just keep the buffer the same. But if Leicester were to win, and now they've got a bit of confidence, they might fancy their chances. That would be a real statement. Back-to-back wins. We've said down there, it's massive. And we were really focusing on Ipswich and Wolves last week because Leicester's form was so bad. We were thinking, how are they going to rise above both of
Leapfrog.
them? They've jumped over both of them with this win. So it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, and as you always mention, the slow pace. It's what a win. It's what a win can do when nobody's winning. And speaking of nobody's winning, Matt, the Wolves fans are going to be so annoyed that they had the man advantage against Arsenal. And I know a lot of people will argue, oh, maybe the ref Oliver knew it was a bit of a harsh red card and he wanted to even it up in the second half. Maybe the Wolves manager needed to drill that into the heads of the players. Look, he's gonna take one of you if he gets the chance to even it up. But still, with the man advantage, even if look, Arsenal have got a great squad and they're at the top of the league. Even if you draw that game, you're like, oh, bonus. We did not account for having a point against Arsenal, and that point would be massive, wouldn't it? Because it would mean the difference between being inside and outside the bottom three. But it's going to be a sense of frustration this week for the Wolves fans, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I genuinely think that for myself, there's not many things more frustrating in football than when you have that extra man, but you then get a red card and basically
Yeah.
just give them a bye back into the game. Because in a sense, Wolves had that really where they wanted it. The home advantage in the extra man. I'm not saying Arsenal couldn't have won anyway, but to get a red card, to even it up, it's kind of they've thrown that away. And as you say, a point would have been precious, even just to draw that game 0-0, because as we spoke about earlier, when I was saying 30 points might be enough, and you said, oh, it might be 29. It might come down to 1 point, could come down to goal difference at the end of the season when you look how close it is down here. So, in a way, it's now a missed opportunity for Wolves. But we did say that they are currently riding through a very difficult set of games. And if they can get to the end of this and see that Ipswich and Leicester have not made much progress, that might be the best situation.
Speaking of difficult games, Ipswich had another shellacking. But the good news, Matt, is Ipswich have now ticked off. They've played Liverpool twice and they've played Man City twice. And I don't know, Arsenal fans can debate me. Probably the two best squads in the league. I mean, there's a conversation that Arsenal may have a better squad than one or other of them, but we'll see what the league table looks like at the end. So that's the good news. The bad news is, I mean, if you think goal difference is going to matter, then that's -9 across the last two games for Ipswich. Injury to Wes Burns as well doesn't look a good one, and it might mean Amari Hutchinson's now going out on the right wing, and this is just having added Enciso and Philogene in, and you then lose a player from that area of the pitch. But it's another one of those where you say, okay, the real quiz is next week, and we can bring Southampton into the conversation. Ipswich are home to Southampton, but it's literally anything other than abject defeats against Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal is a bonus for the teams down the bottom. That's how I'm trying to frame it as an Ipswich fan. Am I being a fool?
No. I think we were never going to learn too much from Liverpool at home to Ipswich unless Ipswich got a statement result. I actually got this one right, Ben. Sorry, I went for the 4-1 bonus
4-1, did
point.
you? Well, thanks for giving us the
But
goal.
yeah, there you go. You got the goal. Yeah. It was always going to be mission impossible, Man City, Liverpool back to back. But you've got them out the way. And as I was saying about Wolves looking at Ipswich to see if they've made any progress, you can now look at Wolves and see they didn't make any progress. They could have got that draw we've spoken about against Arsenal. I think Wolves still have a few more difficult games here, whereas Ipswich have Southampton at home next week, and that is the game you will be judged on. Interesting you mentioned the goal difference, Ben, because obviously Ipswich has had they've obviously taken a knock. As you say, it's gone down 9 in the last couple of games, but you've now ticked these two games off. Wolves will still have to play Man City or Liverpool, and that's the games that could damage their goal difference, and then it could really even it up. I mean, it's incredible that it could come down to goal difference, because even Leicester City have got a similar goal difference. There's not much to separate the three. Yeah, not going to learn much from this game, Ben. Southampton at home, you're going to learn a lot from. That's a massive game, and don't want to be too dramatic, but it feels like it has to be a win, Ben.
Well, it does, doesn't it? And I know we can get a scenario next week where Ipswich don't win the game and the league table doesn't move that much, but it's taken essentially the only fixture against a team below you in the table at home. It's been weird between Ipswich and Southampton as well, because obviously there was that famous game at Portman Road that Ipswich won in the 97th minute. Kind of one of the moments at Portman Road in the decades. But
Mm.
Southampton could have won that game. They really, really could. And then Ipswich obviously equalised in stoppage time with a bit of a deflected goal as well earlier in the season. So, although the state of play has changed, because Southampton's confidence must be absolutely, completely shot given how far they are back. But you're right. It really feels like it's got to be a win. Southampton lost at home to Newcastle. Are we paying any heed? Are we just looking at points records now? And let's flip the script. Southampton will look at it as this is our easiest game now.
Mm.
Between now and the rest of the season as well.
Yeah, it is. Just to touch on that Newcastle game, credit to Newcastle, obviously back to winning ways for themselves. But for Southampton, I think myself and you are almost sat here waiting for them to do something because we're just kind of like, they've lost again, didn't really fancy them. If they go and pull a result out the air, then it's like we can start giving them praise. But as I said previously, they can play well in pockets of games, but just not put a 90 minutes together. Don't seem to be getting the rub of the green either. Any luck going their way? I don't know if people, some people like to say you sort of make your own luck, but you could see for Southampton the way their season's going. Ipswich maybe scoring the last minute of this game coming up, but massive game. There's pressure on both teams, but you maybe sense there's more pressure on Ipswich because you've got the home advantage, and everyone's looking at Ipswich saying, "Well, they've got a chance." No one fancies Southampton, so Southampton can rock up and be like, "If we lose, everyone thought we were down anyway. If we win, we might actually be back in this." Not that that's how they should approach it. Obviously, they've got to keep believing that they can get out of this, but we'll see. Yeah, maybe that's the way Southampton will want this narrative. They'll want the pressure to be on Ipswich next week, so makes it
And they'll
interesting.
love the idea. These pro footballers are so competitive. Let's take them with us. If we're
Mm.
going, if we're going, they're coming. They're coming with us, and we're going to go there and win, which is a bit of a doomsday scenario, obviously from an Ipswich fan point of view. So, right, we want your views down in the comments. Given the gap between 17th and 16th, and we always look at the point per game, and everyone there is significantly above it, and everyone below Everton is significantly below it. Are we now saying Everton safe? Anyone want to throw Tottenham in the mix? Surely not. But you can have a bit of fun with that, given what a kind of big stature and fan base there is there. It's a ridiculous position for them to be in, isn't it? And yeah, do you agree with what we've said? How we framed Ipswich, Southampton, and 2 from 3. Now, get in the comments on all of that stuff. Matt, our 2 favourite ex-EFL teams met at Bournemouth, and we tried to hype this up as an amazing game, a great rivalry, and we thought it might be a Forest by 1 goal, Bournemouth by 1 goal. I went for the draw. Where on earth does Bournemouth 5, Forest 0 come from? What is your reaction to that? Wow.
I don't know, Ben. I really don't know
That's
what to
mental,
say.
isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, coming into this, we spoke about the incredible rise of these two because myself and Ben have followed the Championship for some years and we're Championship enthusiasts. Watching Bournemouth and Forest go to the Premier League and grow is like us as proud parents watching them go on to accomplish great things, really sort of happy for them. And it breaks up the established order in the Premier League. But this game, Ben, there was only one team in it. I mean, Forest were absolutely dreadful. And I like to heap praise on Forest. They've been great. And I will mention I'm actually going to the City Ground next week, Ben, for Forest versus Brighton, but
Oh, brilliant.
I don't know if the mood might have changed a little bit. They've got to just think to themselves, it's one game. Let's just put that to the side. And if you can get all your mistakes in the season out in one game, then that's better than doing it over
I
multiple
don't get
games.
it. If there's one team that can stop Brighton's pressing with a brilliant, solid defensive shape, it's Forest. What the hell happened?
I don't know, Ben. Honestly, I mean, the thing is as well,
Did I say Brighton? Sorry, Bournemouth pressing. You mentioned
yeah,
Brighton because you're going to the fixture.
but the Forest have been so good defensively, but their defensive record got really damaged in this game because I think they were joint best defense, but now it's obviously gone down by 5 goals. I mean, Matt Sells has been really good this season, but he wasn't himself. Murillo had literally just signed a contract, but I don't know what happened to him.
Deserved.
Deserved, yeah. Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
like you
very
say.
much.
But from Forest, I think they just need to look at it and say, look at where we are in the table. One result, very frustrating. Let's park it to the side and try and go back to winning ways. But the credit goes to Bournemouth. What a win. And 9 goals, Ben, away at Newcastle and then at home to Forest. They've got Liverpool next. I'm not sure, I'm really fascinated. I mean, Bournemouth they've been flying. I don't know who's going to be more nervous about that game because Liverpool going away to Bournemouth, that's a very tricky game. I mean, Clivert was at it again, wasn't he? Scoring goals. They're just so dangerous. I love Semenyo as well. Credit to the manager, Iriola. I think he just out-tacticked Nuno in this game.
Do you see that team just getting? We always say this with teams that lose in the playoff final in the championship. Is right. Take a picture of that lot because none of them are going to be there in 2 months' time. That's your only thing for Bournemouth. I know they sold Solanke and got good money, reinvested it absolutely brilliantly. You just wonder. I know the likes of Chelsea and Arsenal just going to be throwing tens of millions of pounds worth of bids at Clivert and the fullback and the lad who scored the hat trick, and now the manager as well. But the other thing as well is, say the Spurs job comes up, and I know managers always back themselves. They're like, no, I can see myself going into Spurs. I'm the one who's going to get win the trophies there and whatnot. But you stay at Bournemouth, wouldn't you?
Yeah, honestly, what an incredible job. I mean, let's have a little look at the table here. So Bournemouth 40 points, Tottenham 24. Bournemouth are getting close to doubling what Tottenham have got. He's onto a great thing there, isn't he? But the beauty of Bournemouth is the sort of trading up ability that they bring in players and then they definitely get noticed by the top teams. They take them away, but they earn the profit and they go out and repeat the process again. Obviously, we speak about clubs like Brighton and Brentford that do similar things, but yeah, Bournemouth, fantastic. And I think I joked with you a week or two ago. I imagine Forest third and Bournemouth fourth. Well, I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen, but you can definitely see Bournemouth being somewhere in those European places come the end of the season, can't you?
Yeah, brilliant. Let us know your thoughts. If you're a Bournemouth fan or a Forest fan and you were there, I mean, the question is the same to both fan bases. What the hell happened? Because it's just a massive surprise that the margin of victory was so wide. And I think they might have had a goal VAR off as well. So it could have got even more loose. Matt, let's wrap it up there. And what I want you to do for me is give a bit of a plug for the Premier League predictions over on your channel with Sophie. And can you mark my card here? Because we've got Arsenal versus Manchester City coming up at the weekend. And that's kind of been the classic. You always look at the main fixture in the Premier League. And, we've spoken about it being Arsenal, Man United in Ferguson and Wenger time. And then Mourinho took over and it was maybe Chelsea, Liverpool as well for a time when Rafa Benitez, and then it was Klopp versus Guardiola, and then it felt like it was Arteta versus Guardiola. Are you looking forward to that one, Arsenal Man City on Super Sunday?
Yeah, definitely. There's some really big games coming this weekend, Ben. First of all, as I said, look out for a vlog coming for Nottingham Forest versus Brighton because I'm going to that. It's the Saturday lunchtime game. I just touched on Bournemouth v Liverpool, which I think could be fireworks down on the south coast. Two relegation 6-pointers with Everton, Leicester, and Ipswich, Southampton. You got West Midlands derby, Wolves v Villa. Brentford Spurs, interesting. I'm highlighting all of them here, but Arsenal Man City is the big one on Sunday, and yeah, it's the dynamic of Guardiola versus Arteta, the master versus the apprentice. Last couple of years, it's been a game where you think this will decide the title, but obviously it's possibly going in a different direction this season.
Bye Liverpool.
Yeah, with Liverpool flying at the top. Man City have just started to put things back together now, Ben. Only 6 points behind Arsenal. So if they were to go to the Emirates and win, you'd start to forget about Man City's poor season. Not saying that I think they'll win the Premier League, but could still see them getting second place or something. And yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, Arsenal, obviously, they'll still believe they can make it to the top, but it's always a close one, isn't it, between Arteta and Guardiola? So it'll be interesting to see. I'll reserve judgment till the Premier League predictions with Sophie.
And if you're a Liverpool fan, you'll be bloody loving it because you probably think, a Man City win is exactly what you want, given there's a 12-point gap there. And yeah, I know we've rightly heaped praise on Bournemouth, but Liverpool, they didn't get much of a workout in terms of battering Ipswich at the weekend, didn't they? They'll look at this as a really, really, kind of seminal weekend. So get involved in the comments on all of that stuff. We want to hear about the relegation picture and Matt and I's framing. Feel free to disagree if you see it going a different way. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Want to hear from. I mean, maybe we'll let the Forest fans have a week off from commenting, but I'd still like to know what the hell went wrong. We'd definitely like to hear from the Bournemouth fans. And yeah, if you've got a view on Arsenal and Man City as well, get involved. We'll also be together, Matt and myself, over on Match Channel with the League One predictions, a double shot this week because there's a 3-game week in League One. So check that out, and we'll see you in various places, but definitely here next week for another edition of the Premier League Check-In podcast, where I hope I might be talking about an Ipswich Town win. Imagine that.